ASRock, the company that is known for making motherboards that's also branched into making graphics cards, is now making PC gaming monitors, and this one behind us is a 34-inch ultra-wide with 1500R curvature and a resolution of 3440 by 1440 pixels at a 165 Hz on a VA panel. However, straight out of the box, this monitor is actually differing a lot from other monitors I've seen, where the base of the stand, which is extremely easy to erect, you simply insert the stand to the base, one screw, then attach your monitor. That this monitor comes with something I've never seen before. At the base of the stand is not just an OLED mini display, which you can also program different images and GIFs into, which I decided to do Agent Smith and Neo for some reason. I guess I just like both these characters from The Matrix. But there's also a 7 dBi Wi-Fi antenna that connects from your motherboard's Wi-Fi if you want to use this monitor as your Wi-Fi antenna. So nice little touches there, as well as including an HDMI DisplayPort and Type A to Type C and power cables, which once you attach the USB, that then powers the OLED mini, as well as data transfer, as well as powering the RGB lighting on the back of the monitor, both of which are programmable with the ASRock Polychrome software. The monitor is also height, swivel, and tilt adjustable, and in terms of power consumption, the max I measured out of the wall was 63.1 watts with the sports mode on, which sets the brightness to 100, and then on the standard out of the box mode, it's 30.2 watts. Now unplugging the USB Type A to Type C cable, in other words, turning the mini OLED off, as well as turning the RGB off, only showed the power consumption decreased 0.2 watts. In other words, these extra aesthetic touches will not use much power at all. But let's get onto the panel itself, the most important part of a gaming monitor, where this is sporting a VA panel, which isn't as good as the latest OLEDs coming out, as well as some of the latest TN panels that are really hammering those refresh rates up and response times down. But at 165 Hz, this actually does a pretty good job, getting response times of 4 to 5 milliseconds when measured at 1000 FPS, as well as having input lag that is in the realm of 0 to 5 milliseconds. However, if you decide to turn the overdrive feature off, which on this monitor there is only one overdrive setting, your response times will slow down. So I do not recommend this, as I'll go higher than that 6 millisecond refresh rate response time in each frame, meaning that sometimes you'll get 2 images across 2 frames, which is going to create this motion blur-like effect. However, there's also a technology known as black frame insertion. They call it MPRT on this particular monitor. And so what this technology is doing, at least in particular to this 34-inch ultra-wide, is every 10 milliseconds, it's turning off the backlight for roughly 8 milliseconds and then turning it on for 2 milliseconds. And so that time that it's switched off, it's tricking your eyes into only seeing what's available for 2 milliseconds of the time, and that should be a sharper image. And I think this will work really well, at least when I did the tests here in CSGO, as well as the motion tests. However, it will drop the brightness down from what we measured here at around 430 nits all the way down to 100 nits. So that's a massive drop in brightness. But speaking of the white uniformity levels, which are very important for getting a consistent picture, here's where we had excellent white uniformity levels from the worst square to the best square. And then in terms of backlight bleed, there was practically none there. This more is an issue for IPS panels. Then we pulled up an orange background to look for cross-hatching, and there was no visible cross-hatching at the 1440p 21:9 ultra-wide resolution. The panel also uses an anti-glare matte coating, which is better in a sunlit room, but also in the dark, it can lose out in terms of detail and colors. Though onto the on-screen display, here's where you can control this via the D-pad located on the right-hand back of the monitor, as well as having 2 additional buttons to quickly change settings, and then your power button. Now, going through this OSD, it's laid out very well, super easy to use. You've got all the features you want there to change either colors or profiles, contrast brightness, turn off the overdrive, turn on or off FreeSync if you want to, as well as change things like the black frame insertion. There's also a low blue light filter from 0 to 10 in increments of 1, and at full strength, it does a really good job of blocking out a lot of blue light. Though one thing on this monitor I couldn't find that I'd like to see added would be a black level booster, especially for people who play FPS games competitively. Though within this menu is also the sRGB setting, which is meant for people who want accurate colors out of the box. And where everything's been pretty good so far, this would be my first critiquing point. We're setting up our iDisplay Pro to look at the color accuracy of this monitor. It was actually very warm in terms of the reds and the greens versus the blue. And so after we calibrated this panel, there was actually quite a big difference. So if you want this for video editing, out of the box, it's not going to do a great job for giving you accurate colors. So you would want to get this calibrated if you are going to use something like this for video work. Or perhaps ASRock can fix this with a firmware update on their sRGB. And also when you lock in sRGB mode, there was no option to change the brightness settings. So you were only locked in to 90 CCD of brightness, which I thought was a little bit too low. I'd like to at least edit videos with around 120 CCD of brightness. Though while we're on that topic of critiquing, this is where I'm going to critique that little mini OLED display on the base of the monitor. You can upload fancy GIFs and images, but one thing I'd really like to see this thing do is simply display things like GPU and CPU temperatures, and if they could display that at the same time, that would be an absolute win. So if they could add BLB, change the sRGB profile, and also add in a temp checker to the mini OLED display, I would be happy as Larry with this monitor. Though with all that aside, it's now time for the conclusion on ASRock's first gaming monitor and how did they fare. And here's where I'm going to obviously look at the price first, and this is where it's coming in at $429 US, which is actually not bad for a 165 Hz 1440p 21:9 ultra-wide panel. And I thought some of the additions like the Wi-Fi antenna and also the mini OLED display are actually useful as opposed to a lot of other useless crap that comes included with tech products nowadays. Though with any gaming monitor, the most important question is it going to be good for gaming? And with this panel, absolutely yes. I found myself having a really fun time when I put it on sports mode with FreeSync turned on and overdrive turned on and just playing games. Now the response times are probably the weakest thing on this panel. However, 4 to 5 milliseconds, it's really not that bad. And it's definitely not going to stop you from enjoying your games on this panel. However, that said, there is HDR 400 written on the box. I only really look at this properly and even turn it on when the monitor itself or the TV has over 1,000 nits of brightness. In this case, we've got over 400, but turning it on straight away really didn't do anything for me. Ultimately, when it comes down to it, if you're looking for a 21:9 that's going to be good value, this is definitely going to hit the mark. Though if you're a video editor or photographer looking for color accuracy, may wish to look elsewhere. And with that aside, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's review of the PG34. If you did, then be sure to hit that like button and also let us know in the comments section below what you think of this monitor. Love reading those thoughts and opinions as always, just like this question of the day here, which comes from Virgil Bansil 9811, and they ask, when are you gonna show how to flash a 5700 XT to work with Mac Pro 5.1? I know a long shot, but gotta try. So actually, thanks for that question, but I wasn't aware that you could flash a RX 5700 XT and make it so it could work with a Mac Pro. Thanks for making me aware of that. I actually didn't know that. And to answer that question directly, I'll look into it when I come into another Mac 5.1, but they are quite rare, especially since I like to get them at a decent price. So hope that answers that question, and I'll catch you guys in another tech video very soon. If you stayed this far and you're enjoying that Tech Yes content, then be sure to hit that sub button, ring that bell, and I'll catch you in another tech video very soon. Peace out for now. Bye.